Money Vikings, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. I sincerely want to thank all of my subscribers. Thank you very much for helping us grow the channel. Really appreciate each and every one of you. And if you have questions or comments, leave them down below, and I try to respond to everybody with new ideas, because part of this adventure is learning. I'm learning as well. And that's what this video is about. I want to discuss the 5, I'm going to add one bonus one too, but the 5 biggest financial mistakes I've made in my true wealth journey over the years. And I want to share this because it's important to point out that even when for someone, if things are going well, it's important to remember that there was probably a long path to that, and life is not a success-only journey. I think any of us that have lived a while and have been in the working world for a while and trying to build a life know that there's setbacks. There's all kinds of setbacks, and it just seems to be the nature, the human condition, as they say. You know, you never know when something is going to hit you, and I've had a lot of them, seen the professional setbacks, career setbacks, relationship setbacks, health setbacks, and financial ones. And so I wanted to share a few of those so that hopefully you can avoid them, is actually why I'm sharing them. So you can avoid the pain, because I think these would be mistakes now, because I like to do things, you know, you get lessons from the past, but I also like to share things that are relevant today and into the future for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it might be. So my first one, biggest financial mistakes. Number 1, penny stocks. Penny stocks, yes. Done a few of those over the years, and I basically regretted it each time. So I was wise enough to not put too much in, but I did put some in, and basically every time it was a disappointment. And it was based on this idea that, you know, you get a little bit enamored by the multiplier effect. And what I mean by is this: you get a penny stock and you think, oh, it's 50 cents a share, right? So you can buy like 5,000 shares. And then you start doing this funny math in your head where you're like, well, if this hits big and it becomes $100 a share, well, you can do the math. You've then made a enormous amount of money, okay? But it gets a little bit into that like gambling. It gets into that part of the brain that is stimulated by gambling and dopamine highs. So that was my first one. And I realize now in hindsight, a lot of that was a dopamine high, because you're just getting this concept of this like overnight $1 million based on a $2,000 investment or $3,000 investment, whatever it may be. That's number 1. Number 2, regret and mistake was not maxing out the 401k contributions through my employer earlier, okay? Really should have maxed that out earlier. Now, I was, I guess, wise enough or had enough foresight to know that I had to contribute something, and I always did, and that saved the day and made all the difference. But really, if you're at that like 2-3% and you can afford to go into the 6, 7, 10, 12, 15%, you know, I would have done it if I could do it all over again. So that was number 2, not maxing out. Number 3, this kind of picked up during the pandemic era, pandemic times. I did too many individual stocks. I would get kind of enamored with the company story, and it wasn't that I lost money doing this. I didn't really lose money, but it got too complicated. Now, a few of them would go south, but I didn't have enough in them to make some big difference. But I just should have stuck with the classic indexes, you know, the Vanguard Dividend Appreciation Index, the VOO, the S&P 500 Index. Just should have stuck with that, really, in hindsight, and it would have been a lot less complicated tax-wise, keeping track of all this stuff. If you have a list of 50 different stocks that you're keeping track of, it kind of sucks, actually, in my opinion. I don't want to do it. So that's number 3. Number 4, mistake and regret. Number 4, buying a new car. And what saved me was this. I never bought a luxury car. I'm sitting in a Toyota at the moment as I film this, so I'm very practical with the cars I buy. But I bought a new one. And in hindsight, again, probably something, if I could have waited a year or two and bought the used version of this one, just a gently used with 20,000 miles on it, 2 years old, that reduces the cost by so much. It just really makes a huge difference. So you really could save like $10,000, So that would be one right there. Okay, number 5, and then I got a bonus one. Number 5 is I've had times in my life when I've not had an adequate emergency fund, and that kind of bit me in the you-know-what. So emergency fund. There's a reason that financial gurus and personal financial coaches and advisors will typically tell you one of the first things to do even before investing is get an emergency fund in place. And it really is critical because what I found is this: it keeps you from having to go into a hole. When you're in a hole, you're negative net worth. It's better to be at zero. So it's better to have that $20,000 or whatever it is for you in an emergency fund, or $10,000. That emergency hits and you got to spend 10 grand. Okay. Well, you just drew that down to zero. You didn't go negative and owe interest. You didn't have a negative net worth. You had, you're stable still. So that's still critical. And I'll add one more before I let you go, because I do like to make these really succinct, these videos. I don't like to drone on and waste your time. I would add one more. I got a little too crazy at times with the collectibles. For some of you that have watched our channel for a long time, I do like to share collectibles, mainly comic books and cards, collectible cards. They're fun hobbies, and I like them because of the artwork. A lot of them do hold value. I like to buy key comics. I like to invest in key comics that I believe are very valuable IP, intellectual property. But that stuff can get out of hand. So be very careful with the collectibles or whatever the hobby may be. Just insert your favorite hobby. You can go overboard on the spending with it. So really, really manage that. I have had to ramp that back in my brain. Again, it's a psychology thing. I get a bit of a dopamine high from it. It's exciting. I like it. It's interesting. I love the art. I'm an amateur artist, so I enjoy the skill and all that. And I like the story and the mythology, but it can also be too much money. So got to keep it. So I hope those 5+1 mistakes help you. And again, thank you for watching. Please share, make a comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. It really helps. And we're just trying to, grow the channel and continue to add value. So if we add any value to your life, I do appreciate the support. It's free to you. And it's just a swipe and a click. That's all, right? Okay. Hey, take care. Talk to you later.